Okay, thank you. And
is there somebody new that's on?
oh, sorry.
Allez-y.
It's good. Okay. So welcome everyone. I'll call this meeting. Oh, sorry. Okay, it's because I was on. Okay, alors bienvenue tout le monde. Je vais.
Welcome everyone. We're going to begin. I'm going to switch languages.
This meeting to order. Welcome to meeting number 9 of the Standing Committee on Agriculture and Agri-Food, pursuant to the orders of reference of April 11th and April 29, 2020. The committee is meeting for the sole purpose of receiving evidence concerning matters related to the government's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The order of reference of April 11 also stipulates that only motions requesting scheduling specific witnesses can be considered by the committee, and that such motions shall be decided by way of recorded vote. As you know, today's meeting is taking place by video conference, and the proceedings will be made available via the House of Commons website. So that you are aware, the webcast will always show the person speaking rather than the entirety of the committee. In order to facilitate the work of our interpreters and ensure an orderly meeting, I would like to outline a few rules to follow. Number one, interpretation in this video conference will work very much like a regular committee meeting. You have the choice at the bottom of your screen of either floor, English, or French. When you intervene, please make sure your language channel is set to the language that you intend to speak, not the floor. This ensures the best sound quality possible for our interpreters. This is very important. Also, before speaking, wait until I recognize you by name. When you are ready to speak, you can click the microphone icon to activate your mic. And I will switch to the French. Je tiens aussi à vous rappeler que tous les membres étaient.
I would also like to remind you that you must speak going through the chair. If you wish to intervene before it's your turn, you should activate your microphone and make a point of order. If you wish to respond to a point of order made by another member, you should use the raise hand function, signifying to the chair that you wish to have the floor. So you must click on participant at the bottom of your screen when the list appears, and you will see next to your name the raised hand symbol. Speak slowly and clearly, and please ensure that your microphone is on mute when you're not intervening. We encourage you to use a headset with a microphone. If you're using a dangling microphone, please make sure that it's not brushing against your clothes. If you encounter any technical difficulties, if you're accidentally disconnected or have interpretation issues, please advise immediately the chair or the clerk, and our technical team will do their utmost to solve the problem. We might have to suspend the work of the committee if that arises. Could you all click on the upper right-hand corner of your screens to ensure that you have the gallery view that allows you to see all the participants in the grid?
Finally, just as we usually would do in a regular meeting, a committee meeting, we will suspend in between panels or section of the agenda. With that, we're ready to begin. And I will start by introducing the guest for the first hour, which is our Minister of Agriculture, Marie-Claude Bibeau. Alors, bienvenue, Marie-Claude. Just hang on there. Okay, bienvenue.
Welcome, Madam Minister. We're very proud to meet with you here today. We greatly appreciate your visit with us. We know that farmers are very busy. It's spring, and it's a peak activity time. So I'll give you 5 or 10 minutes for your presentation. So welcome, and you have the floor.
The opportunity to join you today to discuss our government's ongoing response to the COVID-19 pandemic as it impacts our agriculture and agri-food sectors. The COVID-19 crisis has Canadians realizing how important it is to have the wide range of food that our farmers, ranchers, processors, and agribusinesses provide. They prove their resilience, innovation, and adaptability in the face of these extraordinary circumstances. However, we know there are big challenges and we are taking action. As you know, last Tuesday, Prime Minister announced a series of measures to help Canadian farmers and food processors continue their vital work. This amounted to over $252 million, as well as $200 million in added buying capacity for the Canadian Dairy Commission. We also announced important program changes, such as increasing the agri-stability advance payments to 75%, which the government of Alberta estimated would represent in a payment of $20 per head for pork producers. The financial measures announced last week build upon a number of other measures we have taken to support our farmers, ranchers, food processors, and the entire value chain. We also put in place measures to help safely welcome temporary foreign workers up to $50 million and $20 million towards the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, for example. We deferred $173 million in advance payment programs loans for cattle, grains, and flowers, and added $5 billion in lending capacity to Farm Credit Canada, which has already resulted in over $4 billion in deferred loans to thousands of producers. Bien sûr, au Canada,
in Canada, we already have a full suite of business risk management programs. Every year, these programs deliver about $1.6 billion to help farmers who are facing financial pressures, as they're facing right now. And that number is expected to be even greater this year. As you know, these programs are cost-shared with provinces and territories. We know that business risk management programs need improvement, and I've been fully engaged with my provincial and territorial counterparts to identify and fill any gaps in these programs. They're already available and must be used. We are going to continue to improve our programs or create new ones depending on the specific needs of the various sectors, and to fill the gaps that we find between the programs that are available and the extra needs caused by COVID-19. I would now like to go into detail about some of the measures we've taken so far. To encourage farmers to enroll in agri-stability, we've extended the application deadline to July 3rd. Producers will now be able to access 75% of their expected benefit, up from 50%, where the provinces have enacted the changes. We've also put in place an online calculator function. It isn't necessary to have your final end-of-year results for 2019. An estimate is sufficient to access these funds. There is also the Agri-Investment Program, which is a savings account. Producers will be able to obtain a grant of up to $10 million, or $10,000 rather, every year. In total, there is an accumulated fund of about $3.5 billion available.
Investments under Agri-Recovery Program. First, up to $50 million will serve as a set-aside program to help cattle producers cover the extra costs of keeping their animals on the farms while they wait longer to be processed. I was very happy to see the province of Alberta announced $17 million towards our federal cattle set-aside initiative, joining their 40% contribution to this cost-shared program. Also, another $50 million to help pork producers cover costs of managing their surplus animals due to the temporary closure of food processing plants. These changes to the Agri-Recovery Program represent real leadership from the federal government on our business risk management programs. This has been a very urgent request from industry. We have listened and delivered on significant changes on how the Agri-Recovery Framework operates. Recognizing the unprecedented crisis, the federal government will make available its 60% contribution in all provinces or territories, whether they contribute their share or not. Also, on agri-recovery, we are boosting the coverage by the federal government of eligible expenses from 70 to 90%. On agri-insurance, we are asking the provinces and territories to include labor shortages as eligible risks under the program. This would help to ensure income lost by producers because of an insufficient workforce. These measures add to significant work we have been doing to address labor shortages. For example, through the incredible hard work of the government, in collaboration with leading industry groups like Farm and Ferme, we have been able to welcome over 11,200 workers in April. That is 86% of the number of workers we were expecting in April 2019. Compared to April 2019, yes. Also, last week, the Prime Minister announced $3 billion for wage top-ups for low-income workers in essential services such as agriculture. While Quebec has already announced their wage top-up plan, we look forward to seeing plans from other provinces soon. Our food processors are vital to our food supply and our economy. Across Canada, food processing plants have slowed down production or temporarily closed as a result of the impact of COVID-19. And we understand the health concerns of workers in these plants. Workers need to feel and to be safe when they go to work. That's why we are also investing $77.5 million in support of food processing to implement measures to protect the safety of their workers while maintaining the production. This funding will ensure we can expand our capacity for Canadian-made products by adapting and reopening plants that have closed or are operating under capacity. This funding is additional to the $62.5 million we announced to help fish and seafood processors. We are also working to ensure the safety of workers by removing all tariffs on the importation of personal protective equipment. Nous aidons aussi à trouver.
We are also helping to address the increasing surplus production of food across Canada. Farmers, such as potato producers, are facing higher surpluses due to the closure of restaurants and the hospitality industry. We will therefore invest $50 million in a first-ever surplus food purchase program to help with the purchase and distribution of surplus foods to organizations such as food banks who serve the most vulnerable in our communities and in remote communities. And to manage the surplus of dairy products, we are proposing to increase the borrowing capacity of the Canadian Dairy Commission by $200 million to reach $500 million. This additional support would allow the CDC to increase its purchases of dairy products such as butter and cheese. This measure directly responds to direction from the dairy industry. Our government will therefore work with you all, parliamentary colleagues, to achieve the required legislative change for this vital measure. In conclusion, Mr. Chair, I wish to thank you, and I thank the whole committee for your dedication to the sector. The women and men who work on farms, in processing plants, and throughout the food production chain are doing an essential service for us during this extremely stressful time. And we're deeply grateful and thankful for their dedication. I myself am committed to doing everything in my power to ensure the sector is well positioned to continue to serve Canadians and to keep feeding the world. As we begin to restart the economy, we will build on these measures to help Canada's agriculture and food industry lead our nation on the road to recovery and shine on the world stage. As the Prime Minister has said, we have been and will continue to be there for our agriculture and food industry at every step of the way. Thank you. Thank you, Minister, for your opening remarks. And we will now move to the questions members have for you. And we will begin with Mr. Barlow for 6 minutes. Go ahead, please, Mr. Barlow.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Merci à la ministre d'être ici. Vous parlez souvent du fait que l'agriculture est vraiment essentielle. Mais votre annonce la semaine dernière a été bien critiquée.
Forgive me, Mr. Barlow. There is an issue with the interpretation. We're hearing the French on the English line.
My own ears as well. Is that better?
Est-ce que c'est mieux maintenant? Moi, je me préparais à vous écouter en anglais et j'entendais la traduction. C'est pour cela que j'étais un peu mêlée. Est-ce que c'est mieux, Monsieur le Président? Oh.
Mr. Chair, go ahead, Mr. Blow, is there a point of order?
I switched to French and it was actually playing English, and now I'll switch back to English because I think we've got it figured out.
Okay, let's try it again. Mr. Barlow.
I'm just hoping this doesn't wreck my time here. So if we can start over there, Mr. Chair, I still can't. I was hearing the translation through my heads. Okay, now it's good. Now it's good.
So no, we actually stopped the time, Mr. Barlow.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So go ahead, continue. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. But Minister, you said you have agriculture's back, but the announcements you made last week have been universally panned by the agriculture sector as being woefully short of what is needed. And to put that in perspective, Dr. Sylvain Charlebois said we are at the very real risk of losing 15% of our farms. That's 30,000 farm families who are at risk of bankruptcy. Do you have any idea what the ramifications of losing 30,000 farms would be on the security of our food supply and the cost of groceries on the store shelves?
Thank you, Mr. Barlow. This is definitely something that I don't want to see. We want to support our farmers in all the sectors, and we have made some additional announcement. And once again, we have to keep in mind that the business risk management programs are there. I know that producers would like to have these programs more generous, and we are working with the provinces on this issue, but still, we have made agri-stability easier to access, not more generous, but easier to access. And it's really worth it. And this is why we have put in line the calculator, so they can, go from themselves and see that there is money available to them. And we have increased the advance payment. They can get up to 75% where the provinces will agree. And I'm confident that most of them will. And I've had already a few producers trying the system and recognizing that it was not exactly what they expected, but it's still significant and they should use this money. And it's the same with Agri-Invest. I mean, there's $2.3 billion.
Thanks, Minister. I appreciate it, but we've only got a certain amount of time. And, we've heard about Agri-Invest and Agri-Stability. But just for your own information, if a farmer was to actually apply for agri-stability, and less than 35% actually do, they would get a check for, on an average 1,200 acre farm, it would be about $980, which is actually less than the subscription cost to get into agri-stability. So there has not been a stakeholder group anywhere in this country that says what you've asked or what you've announced is sufficient. And just to go to example on the $77 million that you've announced for the processing, which Mr. Forbes said last week would be available for, say, to get riding Regency back up to address processing capacity. But now we're learning that those funds may not be available until well into the fall. How is that funding going to be able to address the bottleneck in the processing capacity if those funds aren't even available until well into the fall, maybe 6 months away? Do you know when those funds will be made available?
Oh, it's a matter of a few weeks. We will make the criteria known very shortly. I was still working on it earlier today. It's almost ready to be publicly shared because we wanted to do some, consultation with the stakeholders. And these funds will have to be disbursed before fall. So that might be where the confusion came from. These funds are to be utilized before the end of September. So these are really to meet emergency and to help the processors put in place the right measures to protect their employees first and to continue operate.
Earlier this month, you announced, or your department announced, that it is halting all field research in agriculture. Why was that decision made during a pandemic when our grain and oilseed producers rely so heavily on that research and how important it is to the sector? Why was that? Why have you halted all scientific research in agriculture or field research?
Well, I want to reassure you that we intend to start over the research work. at the how should I say, the pace that other research center will be able to reopen in the different following the recommendation of the different local or provincial public health department.
We've heard from many stakeholders in the agriculture sector that exempting them from the carbon tax would be very helpful during the COVID pandemic to put some more money in their pocket. When we asked the order paper question about the costs of the carbon tax on agriculture, the response we had from your department was that information is secret. Why are you withholding the carbon tax data and the cost of the carbon tax to agriculture? Why is that being secret? Why will you not share that with producers?
We have made the verification on that, and actually the analysis has been made public. There was some information directly related to the budget, which was secret, but the report is available for the public, and I can make sure that it is you get the link to be able to have the report if you don't already have it after the session.
You've also mentioned several times that farmers should be applying for the CEBA program, but most farms, or just about every single one we've spoken with, does not qualify for the CEBA because of the salary and the wage eligibility. Are you in discussions to expand that eligibility so farmers can apply and qualify for the CEBA?
As you have noted, the first programs that we have put in place were to trying to reach the greatest number of people and the greatest number of businesses, small, medium, and now large businesses. And then we are improving on we're following up with the different sectors and trying to fill the gaps. This is a gap that we have already, that has been identified, but we're still working on it to see how we can support that.
Thank you. Thank you. Merci, Madame la Ministre. So now, Mr. Blois for 6 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Minister, for your time here today. I just want to start, Minister, obviously the announcements we've made to date, is it fair to suggest that those have been meant to try to address some of the concerns that have arisen to date as a result of COVID-19? Is that fair to say?
Absolutely.
And,
yeah.
And the Prime Minister has acknowledged that our government is willing to support more. I assume that's your position as well as these challenges present themselves?
Yes, we have put in place some complementary programs to the BRM. So I'm really encouraging producers to use as much as they can from the BRM programs, and then we will be in a better position to identify the gaps.
I want to talk about agri-stability for a moment. Mr. Barlow referenced it, and of course it was his government that cut it from 85% reference margins, but he talked about some certain statistics. I want to confirm them with you. Agri-stability, right now it's currently at a 70% reference margin, which means if farms were to go beyond that reference margin, it would trigger agri-stability if they're involved, and it would cover up to 70%, which would be almost 50% of the gross farm margins. Is that correct?
Yes, it's not as simple as that, but yes.
In theory, though, but a farm that might have hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of income would certainly be entitled to close to 50% if they were enrolled in the program, if they met the threshold, correct?
I'm looking at my assistant deputy minister because you're calculating maybe a bit fast, but it's about 70% of 70% of eligible expenses.
I want to quickly take you to the carbon tax, or the price on pollution, of course. We want to talk about that. Is that something that has come up amongst the Canadian Federation of Agriculture? Has it been the priority from the agriculture groups in the conversations you've had?
No, it's not the main issue that is being brought to me.
And I also want to ask, of course, Mr. Barlow continues to ask you about this, but it's not the Department of Agriculture that normally holds the statistics on the price of pollution. That's held by either Finance or the Department of Environment, correct?
Yes, correct.
I want to take you to the Agri-Recovery Program. Each year, the Government of Canada generally allocates about $125 million for agri-recovery, correct?
Hold on a second. Oh, no, actually, agri-recovery, it's about the average of the last 5 years, about $15 million. And this year we have announced $125 million, which is significantly more important.
But the allocation in a budget doesn't mean that that's necessarily spent. It's only incurred if something happens where the government feels it's important to trigger with the provinces to respond, correct?
Yes, exactly. So it was the allocated amount was $125 million, and it was only utilized at a level of an average of $15 million for the last 5 years, and now we have already committed the full amount.
Minister, is it fair to say that on January 1st of 2020 of this year that you intended to allocate $125 million to a set-aside program for the beef and pork or poultry sector? Is that something you anticipated coming into the year?
No.
No, I didn't think. I wouldn't.
This program is responsive to the province's request.
And obviously that money was allocated in the budget, but had you not made the decision to actually expend that money and provide it, it wouldn't have necessarily flowed, correct?
No, once again, the average of the last 5 years was about $15 million.
The reason, Minister, I'm asking this is because there's been some suggestion on this committee that, of course, this is not new money, and I wanted to just make sure we hit home the point that, of course, these are allocated, but there's a difference between allocation and actually expending the money. So thank you for that clarification. Minister, I want to talk to you. Obviously, the Canadian Federation of Agriculture is an important stakeholder group. They engage with you. One of the priorities was, of course, supporting our processing sector. We announced $20 million to the CFIA. That was meant to help try to alleviate some of the bottlenecks, correct?
Yes.
And in terms of recruitment of farm workers, we have put some measures in place on the Government of Canada website to try to encourage domestic workers and work with industry, correct?
Yes.
And as part of course, the labor challenges that we're seeing, you mentioned it. Can you just repeat it for all of us? 86% right now of the amount of temporary foreign workers that are actually in country as compared to last year?
For the month of April.
Okay, and we introduced $50 million worth of support programs to help farmers as a result of the additional costs. Is that correct?
Yes, $1,500 per worker.
Okay. Obviously, liquidity is a big piece of the conversation as well. We know that there's been challenging times for farmers. We announced $5 billion for Farm Credit Canada. You said that almost 80% of that is already accumulated, and it's been helping thousands of farmers. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, Farm Credit Canada reported to me that more than $4 billion out of the $5 billion additional money we have given them have been provided to producers so they can extend, for example, the duration of their loans. So just push further the payment of their loans.
Obviously,
so it's not additional. Just to put it in context, but it's not additional loans. It's giving them flexibility and helping them managing their cash flow.
I want to talk about the emergency business account. We've mentioned that. Mr. Barlow mentioned it. Of course, there are some farmers that don't meet the $20,000 payroll threshold, but many do. Have you heard any examples of farmers taking advantage of that program?
Yes.
I want to talk about the business credit availability program, $65 billion. That's available to farmers as well, correct?
Yes.
And I want to talk to you about the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy. Obviously, the Prime Minister has talked about extending that, presuming that farmers would meet the threshold of normal businesses.
Sorry, Mr. Cody. Sorry, Mr. Blois. We're actually out of time, so we're going to have to pass and move to the next one.
Thank you, Minister.
Monsieur Perron, allez-y pour 6 minutes.
Mr. Perron, go ahead, please, for 6 minutes. Yes, thank you very much. I'm going to be sharing some of my time with Madame Desbiens. Welcome, Ms. Bibeau. I hope you're doing well. Listen, I have several questions for you. First of all, to what extent do you recognize that this year with COVID-19, it is going to be extremely difficult for our farmers? As you know, they do require important support. Absolutely. I knew your response would be brief. The Federation of Agriculture was asking for $2.6 billion. You announced $252 million. I want to act in good faith, but we're far from the mark here. These aren't all new monies. How do you explain this, and what do you respond to the Canadian Federation of Agriculture, the Union des Producteurs Agricoles, etc., who came out publicly 2 days after your announcement saying that the alarm bells had to go off? Well, it's mostly new monies. For example, Agri-Stability. Agri-Stability is a project or a program that will respond to the requests of the provinces when they see that a given sector of agriculture is facing exceptional costs, exceptionally high costs. And our pre-authorized room to maneuver is $125 million, but if we look at the last 5 years, it's $15 million on average that's been used. So you can consider here that there's $110 million of new monies announced just for agri-stability. I agree, Ms. Bibeau, but I'd like to come back to the $2.6 billion compared with $252 million. Even if this is all new monies, I'm not convinced of that, but 2.6 billion versus 252 million. Do you not think that there's a gigantic wall here in the US? They announced $19 billion of aid for their agricultural sector. And our farmers must compete during the COVID crisis and even afterwards. They must compete with the U.S. Do you not think we're threatening or imperiling our agricultural sector? Measures have been made and continue to be made, but the risk management programs, that's $1.6 billion per year with those programs. And it could be more. We have room to maneuver. These are programs that respond to the needs. Producers can't simply turn their backs on the risk management programs. With Agri-Stability, you have to go after the money that's on the table that's available. And to facilitate things for them, we've postponed to July 3rd the date to come on board with the program, to register for it. And there's also an advance of 75% of the amount they're entitled to. Usually it's 50% where the provinces are on board, but I do hope that a lot of provinces will come on board. And thirdly, we are offering an online calculator. There are lots of rumors going around with regard to agri-stability, but here producers will be able to very simply go online, go on the internet, somewhat like a normal calculator to move forward. Your calculator idea seems interesting. You've mentioned it several times, but that doesn't increase the amounts of money available. During the last meeting of our committee, the beef people, I asked them about the $50 million, and they said, well, we've already spent the money because it's grossly insufficient. The hog producers, pork producers, said that it covers about 10% of hogs in Canada, the amounts you've offered. So it's insufficient. At some point, will you be announcing higher amounts of money? Is this coming? We will be launching these programs very quickly. We're on the verge of announcing the criteria for eligibility and the modus operandi to apply. This will be rolled out very quickly, and we're confirming that there's a need there, and if the need is greater, well, we'll reconsider the envelope. So the timelines could be very short, if I understand correctly. And I'll now move to my colleague, Madame Desbiens. Thank you very much. Thank you, Minister, for being with us. My riding is Ile d'Orléans, Charlevoix, Côte de Beauport, and there are a lot of young farmers, the Relève, the new generation. These are SMEs. I'd like to hear you speak about programs tailored to those producers. The programs for the new farmers, young farmers, well, we have to look at Agriculture Canada funding. There are programs targeting the new generation. With COVID, some programs, I'm thinking now, I'm trying to remember the salary subsidy programs, for example. We made adjustments to them in order to be able to help new businesses. Yes, these grants for salaries target companies that have larger numbers of employees. Point of order?
This channel, she's not on the French because there's no translation.
Vous devez être sur le parquet.
Are you on the floor, Ms. Desbiens? Is that a possibility? You'd have to switch languages. You'd have to switch to French. It would appear that Madame Desbiens is on the French channel. So let's verify. So is it coming through? I'm on the French channel with the Quebec flag behind me in the background. Is the sound coming through properly?
The translator and her at the same level.
Alors, oui.
Okay.
Est-ce que ça va? Est-ce que vous m'entendez?
Can you hear me well? Is the interpretation coming through properly?
I think it's once you start talking in translation, it's the same level.
So yours is on the floor, Mr. Soroka?
Est-ce que moi, quand je parle, vous m'entendez bien?
No, I'm on
traduction quand c'est moi.
When I'm speaking, do you hear me properly?
It's fine. It's just when the MP is speaking.
Ah, alors c'est moi le...
So the glitch is at my end? Ms. Desbiens, you see the little flag of France at the bottom of your screen? Yes, absolutely.
Et là, est-ce que ça va pour vous, Monsieur Soroka?
Mr. Soroka, is the sound coming through clearly for you now?
Until you translate, it's just in French. Well, let's keep going. I don't think anyone else is having that problem.
Okay.
Juste un point d'ordre.
On a point of order, Mr. Chairman? Yes, go ahead. There was a minute left of my time when the point of order was made, so could that be added on? Yes, we had pressed pause for you. If everyone is ready, we can continue. Was there anything else? Go ahead, Madame Desbiens.
We can't hear you, Mr. Else. Your mic is mute.
So
Go
the
ahead.
translation is coming through at the same. So you're hearing the English and French. They're blending over each other.
Okay.
Just on the MP's mic. Just on the MP's mic.
On the MP's mic.
So if they start talking at the same time with translation, you can't hear it.
Can we?
So when you keep testing, you're only testing the one mic. You're only testing the MP's mic.
Madame Desbiens, est-ce que vous pouvez...
Ms. Desbiens, could you switch back to the floor? Go back to the floor and then move to the French channel. I've been on the French channel all along. Go back to the floor, go back to floor, and then switch back again. So I move to English and then I move back to French. Yes, toggle from one to the other and let's see. I'm now on the English, says Ms. Desbiens. So go back to the French channel now. I'm back on the French. Is everything okay? Is it coming through?
Mr. Ellis?
Yes, that seems to be working fine now.
Okay, let's give it a try.
Pourtant, j'étais là.
I was here all along. Anyway, technology plays games with us sometimes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'll repeat my question. My question was, I wanted to hear you, Minister, about young people who don't necessarily pay out enough salaries to be eligible for the salary subsidy, the wage subsidy. Are any changes on the way? We're always ready to look at any changes, improvements we might make, indeed. The role of young people and of women in the industry is dear to my heart. Yes, in the organic sector, there are a lot of young people who are very anxious to farm. Do you have anything for organic producers? We know that they're usually small businesses. As you've seen since the beginning of the crisis, we've attempted to put in place the broadest possible programs to catch as many people as possible and cover as many businesses as possible. We've targeted SMEs, large companies yesterday. This is the way we've gone about things, and we're always open to improvements. Thank you. Ms. Bibeau, thank you, Ms. Desbiens.
Now, Mr. McGregor for 6 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you for appearing before the committee, Minister Bibeau. In the technical briefing for the bill that your government is introducing this week to amend the Canadian Dairy Commission Act, your officials informed us that 30 million litres of milk had been dumped in late March and early April. Can you just give a quick answer as to what reasons led to that?
So it was because at the beginning of the crisis, we have seen a significant, when all the restaurants closed, and
so we'll just have time for
the institution restaurants and the institution closed, it brought a big, distortion and diminution of the demand. Obviously, we all know that we cannot stop the milk production overnight, and in the same time, they have seen an increase in the demand in the grocery. So I remember that in the first day they have increased the level of production for a few days after realizing that the decrease was more important, and it took some time for the industry to reorganize their production.
Thank you, Minister. I think it's important that we put the 30 million liters of milk in the context of the market share that's been lost over 3 successive trade deals. And I know that the dairy processors and the Dairy Farmers of Canada certainly want to see this passed. But I'm just wondering, has your department also come up with any form of compensation for the dairy farmers as a result of CUSMA, but also as a result of your government not honoring the August 1st start of the dairy year?
We have processed, with the signature and the ratification of the agreement in the context of, many consideration, many industries, and for the best of the wide Canadian economy. And I don't see the relation you are making with the dumping of milk that happened in the beginning of the crisis, but which have been resolved, and thanks to the good work of the Canadian Dairy Commission.
Well, the point I'm making is that the sector is definitely feeling a pinch right now, but they've also felt pinches from other areas. So I just wanted to know if you've had made any commitment to compensation to the sector for trade deals that your government negotiated with respect to CUSMA. Just yes or no, have you entered into any thoughts on that?
For CUSMA? No, not yet.
Okay.
But our commitment is strong.
Thank you. Going on to the temporary foreign workers, I know Mr. Blois indicated that as Mr. Forbes testified, April saw about 86% of last year's number of temporary foreign workers. Good given the circumstances. However, we know that much more will be needed, especially as we get closer to harvest season. And I think we need to put this in the context of farms really struggling as to whether they're going to make it through this year. How confident are you that we are going to be able to meet our full demands when we get to the really busy season later this summer?
Well, I'm quite confident. Based on the results of the month of April and seeing the exceptional work that the Department of Immigration is doing with the support of Global Affairs Canada, they are really making the processes for all the visa and the permits that they need to have, and they have put that on a fast track, and it leaves me very positive in terms of getting a good number of temporary foreign workers.
Do you have a specific number? Like, has the department made any projections on the number you think you'll be able to have in place in the next few months?
No, I don't have numbers, but yeah.
Okay. In our previous meeting, we had the Canadian Cattlemen's Association appear before the committee, and as you know very well, we are suffering because of the processing plants. They have been very centralized and they've been hit by COVID-19. Our thoughts, of course, are with the workers and the worker safety, but we have a real problem coming up on the horizon. I'm glad to see there's a set-aside program, but the beef market is looking at a huge glut, especially when we have the fall calf season come in. Now, one of the things the Canadian Cattlemen's Association was talking about was the Western Livestock Insurance Program, having some kind of a price insurance that is nationwide. Can you please inform this committee what your government's plans are with respect to that?
Well, I had the opportunity to speak with the stakeholders of the sector very recently. So we have to see, what approach we can take in terms of regional programs versus what could be a national program. So there are discussions underway. We are looking at, if there is there any possibility to look at it through the CAP, for example. So through regional financial assistance, where the federal and the provincial can contribute. So these are things that we're looking at right now.
Okay, but specifically on price insurance, like, because we heard testimony that the Maritimes don't have any such programs, so we're really looking for federal leadership on this.
I understand, but I can't elaborate further now.
Okay, and in the little time I have left, Minister, we knew far before this crisis that the BRM programs were in sorry shape, and I think they have really exposed a little bit more of that under this strain. I know some measures have been announced, but going forward, what kind of federal leadership are you going to be showing with respect to the provinces for long-term fixes to the BRM suite of programs?
Mr. McGregor, we're actually out of time. I'm sorry about that. Maybe the Minister might have a chance.
No worries.
Plug it in somewhere else. Now, the second round for 5 minutes. Monsieur Richard Lehoux, 5 minutes.
À moi, Monsieur le Président?
Oui, allez-y.
Parfait, merci. Alors...
Welcome, Minister. Thank you for your attendance here this afternoon. You mentioned at the outset earlier $1.6 billion that have been paid out. Could you, with regard to the 1.6, tell me what corresponds to agri-stability? Could you provide that information? Yes, it's about $320,000 out of the 1.6 on average for previous years. On average, yes. And for the balance, the funds are spread out between the other programs. There's agri-investment, agri-insurance, and agri-recovery. Thank you. And you believe with the increase, moving the level of assistance to 75% that you announced last week, do you think that this will be enough to cover the needs that are really very grave? Well, we're responding to the demand. If there are needs, if producers have a bad year, and if their margin drops back by 30%, they can apply. And what we're saying is that we can provide an advance payment. And this advance is 75%. They can use the calculator, the online calculator, to see what they're eligible for. But it's very complex. This calculator is a wonderful tool, but that isn't going to send money to producers next week. This crisis, we've been enduring it for 2 months now. We've been on pause throughout the country for virtually 2 months, and the challenges are increasing. Our farmers are in dire straits. Going back to agri-recovery, last year you said that there would be $50 million for pork and beef. These amounts, they're not available right away. And, Minister, you know that the problems are acute, whether you take pork production or beef production. I'll give you a concrete example in my writing for pork. I spoke with producers last evening, and we have hogs that are being set aside. They're kept there because the processors can't process them because of all of the issues with social distancing and all the added costs in processing plants. So we have hogs that are heavier than 15, 20 kilos. They're already heavier than the proper slaughter weight, and we won't be able to postpone slaughter for too long. Euthanasia is an issue that is out there. We mustn't forget this. There are the little piglets that are already there. They are already with the sow, and there's going to be a bottleneck. What solution do you have for producers? Well, I've noted perhaps 3 questions here, Mr. Lehoux, if you'll allow me. I think that there was some confusion at one point with regard to the payment date for the program for processors, food processors. People are talking about the fall, but it's not the fall at all. The expenses have to be made between now and the fall, and the criteria will be announced in the coming days. And we'll be able to distribute the money very quickly over the course of the summer. But, Minister, over the course of the summer, forgive me with all due respect, but I believe that will be too late, because in hog production, because I visited a farm last week, that's now how things go. You can't wait until we're in the middle of the summer. There's going to be euthanasia. Well, there are several things. First of all, I'd like to say that the program for processors is different. For the hog sector, we have $50 million to help producers cover their exceptionally high costs because they have to keep their hogs for longer, their animals for longer. And sometimes the issues will be very acute. We want to avoid euthanasia, but there is $75.7 million for the processors, food processors. And these are programs that are going to be very quickly available with Agri-Recovery. It's administered by the provinces, and they're just as motivated as we are to launch this program quickly. In the case of the processors, the criteria will be known in the coming days, and we will move forward very, very quickly. Just to come back to the help for processors, because it's a very important sector in my riding. I have a processing plant that has 1,200 employees, and they have to invest a lot. Mr. Leroux, sorry, but you're out of time. So we'll have to conclude there with you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And now Ms. Bissett for 5 minutes, please. Thank you, Marie-Claude. There are too many buttons here. I will share my time with Tim Lewis. Thank you, Marie-Claude, Minister, for being here today with us. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you for the $252 million of last week. I've already heard positive feedback on the ground. This announcement is coming at the right time, given the need and the predictability in farming that people need. The poultry sector is of great concern to me because one of the largest poultry farms in Quebec is in my riding. I have producers who are telling me that they've had to euthanize very small birds. And there are all sorts of issues in the processing sector. Our producers are facing very dire circumstances. How are we going to operationalize this very first buyback of food surplus products unsold? In the case of poultry in particular, our teams are meeting with both parties, those sectors that have surpluses to offer. In the poultry sector, we often talk about potatoes, but there's also poultry, to see what's available, in what format, what packaging, what regions, and on the other side, we have to meet with the 3 Canadian territories. There's a concern there with regard to food safety, so we want to do something for them. And we're also thinking about our food banks. This program isn't limited to purchases. The idea also is to help with logistics with regard to transportation, the adjustment of some packaging protocols. So we're working with both sides to make perfect matchings if possible. Thank you very much. There's also horticultural production in my riding. A lot of people are delighted to hear that agri-protection is going to be broadened to include staff as an eligible risk. The Agri-Protection Program was born thanks to the cooperation of provinces. Where are we at with regard to broadening agri-protection to cover labor shortages? It's moving forward well. As you know, we gave our approval because it's a decision that takes two. It takes two to tango. We're in favor of this. The provinces administer the program. In Quebec, it's the Financière Agricole that does this work. Discussions are moving forward well, but I will be relying on my provincial counterparts to announce their participation.
Merci, Madam Minister. Thank you for being here today and for all your work with the industry and provincial leaders, local health authorities, and providing us best informed measures we can to protect our food supply and support our producers. We've got a vibrant agriculture and agri-food industry here in Kitchener-Conestoga, including the Waterloo Cattlemen's Association, Waterloo Federation of Agriculture, Waterloo Dairy Producer Committee, and the Waterloo Wellington chapter of Ontario Maple Producers. And I've had the privilege of meeting with most of those, including local farmers and board members from the Ontario Pork Producers, local organic farmers, as mentioned before, from Fennings Farms, largest live poultry service in Canada, which is Riverdale Poultry, and the president of Conestoga Meat Packers, which processes 40% of Ontario's pork. So, Madam Minister, my question is about balance. The solution for our agriculture sector this large can't be one size fits all. So could you expand on some of the measures that our government is taking to address food security or helping producers from small farms to large companies?
Thank you. I will not, expand on all the measures that we have put in place for businesses in general, because the agriculture sector is also eligible to these programs. And what we have announced recently is really focusing on pork producers, beef producers, processors, those who have surpluses, the dairy sector. So all these sectors have had recent announcement around them to support them better. And I have to encourage the producers to apply to Agri-Stability, to take, the money that is in their Agri-Invest account. There's money there. This is why we have business risk management program is to be there quickly when they face challenges. And we have to use it first, and we are open to fill the gaps and we continue the conversation with the different sectors to see who need more help, and we'll be there for them.
Okay. Thank you for
merci,
your time.
merci. So sorry, Mr. Lewis, that's all the time we have. And désolé, c'est tout le temps qu'on a. Alors aussi, c'est tout le temps qu'on a pour le panel. Et j'aimerais remercier la ministre Bibeau de certainement avoir venu avec nous aujourd'hui. J'ai oublié au début de aussi reconnaître qu'il y avait aussi le député ministre Annette Gibbons, et aussi avec l'Agence d'inspection des...
We also have Ms. Annette Gibbons and Pauline Barnes. I wish to thank you as well.
Yes, okay.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, we started the meeting late, so I believe there's 5 minutes left, which is a time for another round of questions.
So sorry, just hang on. There. So we unfortunately we're restricted in time, and the first hour, that's unfortunately all the time we have, and those technicalities happen. It might happen in the second hour also, but we try to divide it, halfway. So that's basically all the time we have. So apologize for that. But as we get on with this, we'll get better at it also. So again, thank you all, and we'll take a 5-minute break. Please be back in 5 minutes for our second panel. Thank you very much.
Merci.
and also with the National Cattle Feeders Association, Janice Strangberg, President and Chief Executive Officer, and Monsieur Michel Daigle, the Chair of the Board of Directors. So welcome all of you. Hopefully the sound works well. We'll go ahead, and if there's an issue, we'll catch it as we go. But now for the opening statement, up to 10 minutes to the Canadian Pork Council. Go ahead, whoever wants to take the lead.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the invitation here to appear before the committee, and that you see the Canadian pork producers as an important part of Canada's economy. I'm Rick Bergman, Canadian Pork Council Chair and a producer from Manitoba. Today I'll be sharing my time with Rene Waugh. He's a Canadian Pork Council Vice Chair and a producer from Quebec. I'm quite honored actually to be part of the pork sector. You know, I see my farm contributing to the rural community and the wider Canadian economy by providing food to Canadians and people around the world. With $4 billion in exports and a positive trade balance, Canada's pork sector could play a key role in restarting the economy. We have a great story to tell, but instead I'm here today because producers are not confident of their future to help with the rebuild post-COVID-19. As Renee and I go through this presentation, remember this quote from William Jennings Bryan: "Burn down our cities and leave the farms, and your cities will spring up again as if by magic. But destroy our farms, and the grass will grow in the streets of every city in the country." So this gentleman lived about 100 years ago, and it's unfortunate that his wise words have become forgotten in many circles. The Canadian Pork Council represents 7,000 producers from coast to coast. Combined producers bring a GDP value of $24 billion to our great country of Canada and is a major employer. Pork production is a diversified agricultural sector. All of that diversity has not been enough, though, to protect pork producers from being pushed into a crisis by this COVID-19. Really, because of the current government program, producers are at wit's end in this time when we are seeking meaningful help that will make a difference. First and foremost, our current crisis is a cash crisis. That means farmers do not have income they need to pay their bills, feed their animals, and keep their lights on. We are trying to navigate market conditions as they're incredibly volatile right now. The drop in our market price has been incredibly steep. The recovery is quite slow. Our conservative estimates are that pork producers will lose, on average, about $30 a hog for every pig they sell in 2020. In some regions, that loss may be as high as $50 an animal. This doesn't mean that pork producers will lose $30 on every animal they sell since the beginning of the crisis in April. It means that because the damage done to the pork market for every market hog that is sold in 2020 from January to December, farmers have lost or will lose on average about $30 a hog. And these losses are not sustainable at all. They will force farmers out of business. Unfortunately, the hardest hit will be the mid-sized family farm, the young farmer, and those farms that have been struggling through the years of depressed prices as a result of the global trade war between China and the United States. The U.S. government has recognized the hurt their producers have experienced over the past few years due to the trade war and most recently, the impact of COVID-19. Canadian pork producers forced to compete against this support continue to remain at a disadvantage. As farmers, the answer to us is extremely clear. You know, over 90 countries around the world knock on our door for valued Canadian pork. So it seems as though our government should do the same. Our food security is much too important to leave in the hands of the rest of the world, and we've got a good story to tell here. We just need to get back at it. I want to take a moment to clarify where COVID-19 has hit the farmers so hard and why we need your help. pork production in Canada is a just-in-time business. There are several business models, but for most part, barns are built so that the sows are housed and they go into the farrowing barn where the piglets are born. When the piglets are weaned, they are moved to a different barn, and a new group of sows goes into that farrowing area after it is washed and disinfected. The piglets are then moved through different facilities as they continue to grow. And in some operations, these will be sold at 15 pounds or 50 pounds, like my operation. These feeder pigs are then transferred to another facility where they're grown into a 260 or a 270 pound market animal, and away they go to the processing plants. However, regardless where you farm or your business model, these operations do not have the extra capacity to hold the animals. Barns are designed to refill as soon as a group of pigs are sold. COVID-19 related reductions in slaughter plants and slaughter plant capacity have meant that the market-ready hogs aren't able to move out of the barn. This in turn means the next batch of pigs cannot move forward. So you can understand that just-in-time philosophy, as I just mentioned. The backlog in the U.S. has been particularly bad, where they have seen processing plants closed for extended periods. Given how connected our two industries are, the impact on the U.S. prices has hit Canada hard for producers who export weaned pigs into the U.S. My farm, for example, has needed to give piglets away because we were not able to sell them. And again, we needed to make the room. It's a considerably important part of our marketplace. In 2019, export of animals were valued at $250 million. I'd like to invite my colleague Renee to carry on with the story. Please, Renee.
Merci, Rick.
Thank you, Rick. I'm checking that I'm on the French channel. In Canada, the temporary closure of pork processing plants in Quebec and Ontario has created a backlog of more than 100,000 pigs. These are pigs that should have already been processed, but instead are stuck on farms. It's costing farmers money to feed these pigs. Their welfare is at risk, and adding insult to injury, the hogs are losing value as they grow bigger and bigger than the target market weight. The backlog and the COVID-19 related market disruptions have had two major impacts. First, it has driven prices down and pushed many farmers into a cash crisis. While the current price has recently strengthened, it is still seasonally low and still well below the cost of production. Farmers cannot sell all their pigs. So farmers can't sell all their pigs, and they must continue to feed them in order to avoid welfare slaughter. For some, like my colleague Rick, who specializes in the early weaned, it has been hard for him to find a market. Secondly, some producers have been forced to take more drastic actions as the losses become even more unsustainable. We know that across the country there are farmers that have been forced to dispose of animals because they could not find a market for them. For a farmer, this means lost income and added costs. For Canadian families, this means that good food has gone to waste.
To reduce their production. For some, this means not breeding sows, and for others, this means aborting sows that were close to farrowing. Both situations result in reduced income and put an increased psychological strain on farmers. A situation made even worse with the realization that food is being taken out of the supply chain. Should it continue, Canada will see reduced export, a greater reliance on import, and in extreme cases, the reduction in production will contribute to a food shortage. Producers have been calling for emergency actions to help us get through the crisis. Based on losses of $30 to $50 a pig, we've asked government for a crisis payment of $20 a hog. We have said from the beginning that it's up to the government to figure out the most efficient and effective means to get the money to pork producer as quickly as possible. Pork producers have long called for changes to the programs. We also strongly urge the government to make changes necessary so that payments, including interim payments, can flow more quickly. Without these changes, the program will offer little support. We heard that Business Risk Management Suite offers farmers $1.6 billion in support. However, our focus is pork production, not all agriculture. Based on decades of experience with farm programs, we know this level of support is not available to pork producers.
So, Monsieur Roy, malheureusement, c'est tout le temps qu'on a, le 10 minutes.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have. Mr. Roy, thank you.
Go to, we'll go to the Union des producteurs agricoles, 10 minutes. Allez-y.
Go ahead, please. Union des producteurs agricoles. You have the floor. Yes, good afternoon. Can you hear me? Yes. Go ahead, please. I will be brief because I would like to take a few minutes at the end of my presentation to explain to the members of the Standing Committee of Agriculture how agro-stability works. We've talked an awful lot during the minister's presentation of this program. There are diverging opinions with regard to it, and I believe that there's general misunderstanding of the way this program functions. So we'll attempt an exercise with you, and we'll try to explain to you how it works. First of all, agriculture in Canada is $112 billion of income, $60 billion in exports, an awful lot of farm income. It's one of the most important economic sectors for our regions. It's a sector that has been suffering with the COVID-19 crisis. There have been closures of slaughterhouses and processing plants. You've just heard about the consequences. A lot of things have been done to help. There's been a loss of market, shortages of labor. There have been net losses for producers because of these various hardships. We're starting to be able to tally up the losses. For poultry alone, nationally, the losses are of about $115 million. For beef, we'll come back to this later, but the Canadian Cattlemen's Association mentioned $500 million nationwide losses. In Quebec, for grains, there have been tremendous losses. Just for corn and soybean, the losses Canada-wide would be of $86 million. We know that with regard to processing in slaughterhouses, the losses were very serious, and there are extra expenses due to the safety measures that have to be taken to protect employees. Just in Quebec, we're talking about more than $100 million for the processing sector in losses. So the assistance offered last year, well, the measures are grossly below our expectations. But I must say that with regard to the program for foreign workers to support these employees when they arrive in Canada, there were wonderful efforts made, and I wish to underscore this. For the rest, the other programs, it's insufficient. What's been offered. When we compare our situation to what's been provided in the U.S., we're talking about $19 billion in the U.S. It's 10 to 12 times more than what was announced last week here in Canada. Our future remains very uncertain. There are very volatile markets. It's difficult to predict anything. When we look at the programs that should help us face this situation, agri-stability, for example, it's a program that isn't working properly, and this is why only 31% of producers in Canada have registered for this program. Producers are not stupid people. If the program worked, they would be on board with it. So at the outset, if producers don't register for a program, it's not because they don't understand it. It's because the program doesn't work properly. With regard to agri-investment, I find it difficult to hear the minister say you should use the $2.2 billion from agri-investment that you have in your accounts. These monies aren't necessarily held in the producer accounts today, the producers who are in difficulty at present. The Quebec hog producers have 40 million in their agri-investment accounts for a production value of 1.4 billion in Quebec for hogs. So this equation using agri-investment, because you've got 2.2 billion, well, it doesn't apply directly. It's as if you ask people before applying for employment insurance, make sure that you clean out all your bank accounts. It's as if you told students those who have access to the program are those who don't have any money in their bank account. And we're talking about assistance to be provided to them. It just doesn't hold. Out of the $1.6 billion theoretically available for the producers that Ms. Bibeau has asked us to use last year, from the $1.6 billion, more than $1.1 billion was paid out for crop insurance in Canada. So this has nothing to do with agri-investment nor with agri-stability. So obviously what we're asking is that there be emergency funding to respond to the needs of the various sectors, like the meat sector that is facing specific challenges today, and especially to improve the risk management programs, because the impact of the crisis is not just immediate. This will last throughout the year and most probably go into the following year. So if our risk management programs in Canada are not sufficient, producers will experience difficulties today, but even greater difficulties in the coming years. And now I would ask you to look at the table. I don't know if you had the opportunity to look at this table entitled Agri-Stabilité. It's in French only. I'll go through a little exercise with you, and Isabelle is here to help me if need be. We took the example of an average farm in Quebec with revenues of $250,000 per year, historical eligible expenses of $100,000 a year, to see that in the present program, the eligible expenses are limited and family labor isn't included, isn't eligible for the historic expenses. So small family businesses are more severely penalized. The historical reference management reference is $150,000, but this year, because of COVID, this margin, reference margin, will be $70,000, the reference margin. So that's a business that has lost $80,000 this year out of gross income of $250,000. So it's enormous. This business this year, since the reference margin is of $100,000, so we're compensating 70% of it as of 70% of 70,000, and this reference margin is 70,000. Agri-stability for this business will provide zero monies. So even if the business says, I want to have access to 75% of what agri-stability would give me, there'll be nothing, nil, zip, to help this business. But this business will have lost $80,000 out of reference level of 150,000, the reference margin. So it's more than half. What we're proposing for agri-stability is to improve some criteria, for example, to no longer limit the historical margin. In the second column, the historical margin isn't limited to 100,000. It's 150,000. 70% of 150,000 gives me 105,000. So it's more. It's 35% more than my reference level of 70,000. Multiplied by 70%, that business would get $24,500. And we see that if we increase the margin reference to 85%, well, that farm would get $40,250. The third column is what the program was before the 2013 cuts. So in 2013, when we were saying that the program was working properly, a business with a drop of $80,000 in the margin would have been compensated upwards of 50%, what Mr. Blois was saying earlier. So there would be 50% of debt coverage, and we'd, for that purpose, have to go back to the structure of the program as it existed in 2013. We'll be providing you with perhaps a more detailed table. All this to say to all of you that no matter your party, the party you represent, Agri-Stability is not working. And this is why producers aren't coming on board, aren't registering for it. And Agri-Stability is even less functional for small farms because you don't cover in the eligible expenditures the withdrawal of payment to the family unit working on the farm. So I'm asking all of you, without any partisanship whatsoever, to work on improving this program if you really, truly want to support Canadian farming. It is essential. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Groslo. And now,
Cattle Feeders Association, whoever wants to take the lead, Ms. Janice Strandberg or Mr. Michel Daigle. Go ahead, up to 10 minutes.
Oui, est-ce que vous m'entendez?
Oui, allez-y.
Bon.
Can you hear me? Yes. Mr. Chairman, committee members, thank you for hearing us today. On behalf of the National Cattle Feeders Association, we thank you for the ability to describe to you the impact of COVID-19 on cattle feeders across Canada. On my behalf and on behalf of Michel Daigle, I'm the chair of the board of directors. The first part of my presentation will be in French, and my colleague Janice will take over in English. The interpreter is not getting a very good feed. If we could perhaps ask the witness to use another microphone. We're the national voice of Canada's cattle feeders. Our focus is to improve the growth, sustainability, and competitiveness of our industry.
Both at the same time on the English channel.
Alors, Monsieur Daigle, est-ce que vous avez...
Mr. Daigle, are you on the right channel? Is your microphone on the French channel at the bottom of your screen? Do you have it on French? Unfortunately, there's no indication on the bottom of my screen. At the bottom of the screen, you've got participants and then the language. Do you see that at the bottom of the screen? No. Unfortunately, I don't see that. So I would ask the technicians to provide some assistance to Mr. Daigle, please, and if perhaps he could use another microphone. The sound is very choppy.
Départemental de la Chambre. C'est quoi l'appareil que vous utilisez pour parler? Un iPad, alors tout y va être en haut de votre écran.
Oui.
OK. Participants, interprétation. Est-ce que vous voyez interprétation là?
Non, j'ai plus participants, vidéo, audio et plus.
Cliquez sur le plus, s'il vous plaît.
OK. Interprétation de langue. Il faut que j'aille sur lequel?
Allez-y sur le français, s'il vous plaît.
C'est marqué paramètres de réunion, interprétation de langue, déconnecter le son. Malheureusement pas.
Paramètres d'interprétation, s'il vous plaît.
OK. OK. Il faut aller français, ça va?
Exactement. L'autre chose, c'est on a beaucoup d'écho lorsque vous parlez. Est-ce que c'est possible? Est-ce que vous avez une casque ou des écouteurs?
J'ai des écouteurs.
Est-ce qu'il y en a un microphone avec les écouteurs? Est-ce qu'il y a un microphone sur les écouteurs?
Oui. Ça va bien?
Non, on ne vous entend pas encore dès le microphone. C'est encore le iPad qui nous entend.
Alors, il faut aller où?
De nouveau, audio. Vérifiez que vous avez non seulement les écouteurs, mais aussi le microphone sur les écouteurs portables.
Déconnecter le son, non?
Non, il devrait avoir option d'audio.
J'ai uniquement le micro, moi, qui m'apparaît.
OK. Pourriez-vous déconnecter puis reconnecter vos écouteurs?
Là, est-ce que c'est mieux?
Yeah. So perhaps, if I can interrupt, perhaps we can suspend. On pourrait peut-être suspendre la réunion jusqu'à quand on résout le problème. Alors, je vais suspendre la réunion et on revient tout de suite quand on a réglé le problème. Merci. Okay, so
yes,
we can restart the meeting. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, and I apologize for the problems. Maybe I'll just take over where Michel left off talking a little bit about the challenges of COVID-19 that have hit the beef industry. There's been a dramatic reduction in beef processing capacity in both Canada and the US, and this has caused cattle to back up among the whole entire beef chain. The current backlog is around 130,000 animals, and it's growing by 60 to 90,000 head per day. The additional costs of feeding these backed up cattle is around $3.50 to $4 per head per day. And right now, this is costing cattle feeders in Canada around $500,000. Then fed cattle prices have also collapsed, and this is generating a severe cash flow issue and liquidity problems. Markets have been severely impacted by uncertainty, volatility, and even panic selling. Current losses are up to $600 per head. An average feedlot with 15,000 head capacity is thus seeing additional feeding costs of some $50,000 per day and a loss of $7.5 million in revenue when the cattle are brought to market. The priority issue for NCFA is to ensure that processing facilities get up and running as soon as possible and can move forward and prices can stabilize. But there are many challenges to overcome before processing capacity can return to normal. Until such time, cattle feeders need the support of the government to remain viable. We have been monitoring the supports for cattle producers in the U.S., and whatever happens south of the border has a competitive impact to the industry north of the border. The U.S. is providing direct payments to cattle producers of $5.1 billion US, an investment in Canadian cattle industry of $600 million would be roughly equivalent to the U.S. investment. We appreciate the open and transparent communication that's been happening between the government and the sector throughout the pandemic, and we share a common goal around the table for a reliable and safe beef supply for Canadians and a competitive Canadian beef sector. So we thank the government for the support of the announcement last week. However, it falls significantly short of what is required, and we respectfully would like to outline some of the reasons why today. The government noted in its announcement that the agriculture sector already has $1.6 billion available through current business risk management programs. The government has also noted that there's $2.3 billion sitting in the Agri-Invest accounts of producers. But these funds are not always accessible to farmers, and this is especially so with Canada's cattle feeders. Agri-Invest is a producer government savings account that helps farmers manage small income declines and makes investment to manage risk and improve market income. But given the collapse in market prices for cattle, approximately 85% of all beef processing is currently at risk. So it's quite likely that beef producers have already drawn what they can from their Agri-Invest accounts. Of the $1.6 billion paid out in agri-stability, agri-insurance, and agri-invest, $1 billion comes out in the form of insurance payment for producers for production failures, primarily crops. So then of the remaining $600 million, about $300 million is allocated to Agri-Invest and matching programs, which I previously mentioned can only help those that are able to put savings into their accounts. And then the remaining $300 million is largely used in agri-stability for direct payments to producers experiencing severe income declines. This is allocated to all agricultural producers. The COVID pandemic is not normal business occurrence, and it cannot be addressed by the business risk management programs in the current format. The government announcement last week of $50 million for the Fed Cattle Set-Aside program is certainly appreciated, but the reality is that the current backup at the farm gate is 130,000 cattle, which are costing producers around $500,000 per day to maintain, and their value has fallen from $250 million to $165 million. The backup at the farm gate will continue to grow in the coming weeks, and the sector needs more significant financial commitment. NCFA is also calling for a number of supports that were not part of the recent announcement and will help provide cattle producers the support they drastically need. We're requesting changes to the current business risk management programming to benefit cattle ranchers and feeders. Under agri-stability, we're asking for the $3 million cap to be removed. For an average feedlot, this cap is already removed from them to be able to access these dollars. We're also asking for other agri-stability changes, such as an increase to the trigger from 75 to 85% for the remainder of the CAP partnership agreement. To invoke the late participation clause to allow producers access to the needed support, and to remove the reference margin limiting for meaningful and long-term support. A serious issue for cattle feeders managing this pandemic is business liquidity. The spring is a very busy time of the year for farmers, and the need to purchase inputs is acute. With significant losses due to falling market prices and not being able to move their cattle, feeders need access to financing. We've asked the government to issue a stay of defaults under the advance payment program used to finance the purchase of cattle. This would increase liquidity by extending the repayment further down the road. The interest-free portion of the program should also be increased, and this is particularly useful for younger cattle producers with less liquidity in their business operation. We call for the government to increase federal financial backstops and loan guarantees to banks and financial institutions, allowing producers access to expanded operating credit limits and increased liquidity. We also request that the government ensure that chartered banks and financial institutions pass on the interest rate reductions. This is key to maintaining liquidity in the cattle industry. We recognize that all sectors are calling upon the federal government for support through this pandemic. But besides healthcare, there can be no more critical sector than food, and we ask that additional federal supports be provided accordingly. Thank you for your consideration.
Just hang on. Oops, hang on. Thank you. Thank you from the Cattlemen Association. And now we'll start the question round. So if everybody agrees, because of the shortened time, we'll go through round one, but we'll probably have to shorten it to 4 minutes each, if it's agreeable with everyone to be able to get everyone in within time. Do I see anyone opposed to that, or are we good for 4 minutes each for the first round?
Mr. Chair,
go ahead.
Je vais juste vous demander d'en discuter à la fin de la réunion, s'il vous plaît, pour les
Might we discuss our way of doing things at the end of the meeting for forthcoming meetings? But let's move forward. I understand that time is running out. Yes, we also had a meeting scheduled afterwards, but it depends on the team on the Hill. But if we gave 4 minutes to each speaker, it would work. Well, let's move forward then so we don't waste the time of our witnesses. Is everyone in agreement?
What you're saying?
We can perhaps a few minutes, but generally they want us to stick with the time we have. So that's how it works. So we have no control over that. We'll try and stretch it as much as we can, but I think that's all we can do with shortening the time of everyone at this stage. Okay. Monsieur Lehoux, alors allez-y pour 4 minutes, Monsieur Lehoux.
Mr. Lehoux, you have 4 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be sharing my 4 minutes with my colleague. First question is for Mr. Roy. You're asking for emergency assistance, $20 per hog. With this help, what would your situation be? with the 100,000 hogs that we have in Quebec and many more across the country, would that help us avoid welfare slaughter? It would help producers survive this crisis. There is assistance at present for processors. The 70 billion are for processors, but for producers, if we want producers to survive, they need liquidities immediately. And that's what those $20 would be used for, so that we can continue producing quality food for Canadians. Yes, through the programs available now, well, that's not where you're going to find the assistance that producers need to get through this COVID-19 crisis. No. As we've explained, agri-stability is not a very good program in an emergency situation. It always comes into play after the fact, so it's not very effective with regard to helping producers in a crisis situation like the one we're experiencing now. Thank you. Mr. Groslo, you gave a good explanation of the Agri-Stability Program. I think, or I hope rather, that everyone will familiarize themselves with this document that you provided to us. We should analyze it. My question is simple. The minister and the officials of the federal government, do they understand fully the situation? The way you've outlined it, the situation is rather simple. This program is not working. Why are people digging in their heels? Why don't they simply amend the program quickly in accordance with the needs you have? I imagine it's not the first time that you're talking about this issue with the minister and the officials of the department. Clearly not. This is a program that worked well, that was cut for budgetary reasons in 2013, and this really hurt the ability of Canadian producers to be competitive vis-a-vis their American counterparts. When we compare the situation, the OECD does this, when the OECD compares farming support in Canada compared with farming support in the US, it's close to half, based on the value of Canadian production. So clearly, in the medium term, if there are no changes made for federal support for farming, Canadian farming is going to suffer. Thank you, Mr. Groslo. Mr. Soroka.
Yes, my question is for the cattle feeders. I know the set-aside program only covers the pay for the feed. It doesn't cover the cost of the loss of the calf, but how long will this program last, or how the dollars last to pay for this feed anyway?
So I'll take this, Michelle. You know, it's very hard to say exactly how long this will last because the situation is adapting and changing. But the program that we put together, looking at a we're now, I think, in what I would consider a worst case scenario. We are less than 50% production occurring. It's obviously going to take quite a bit of time to get production up to normal levels, and even normal levels, I think right now, I would say that 100% post COVID production is probably going to be equivalent to 80 to 85% pre-COVID production. So
Thank you, Mr. Strandberg. We're unfortunately out of time and we're running very tight. So Mr. Neil Ellis for 4 minutes.
Take me a couple of minutes to flick my mic on. I'm going to be splitting my time with Mr. Drouin. And I just wanted to touch to Ms. Transberg. You mentioned the backup was around 130,000 cattle right now. What about the backup in January and February? What kind of numbers were we at before COVID hit?
There wasn't a backup.
Wasn't a backup at all. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's not true. Maybe Michelle. I'm not sure if Michelle can answer, but there certainly was some production backup on the eastern part of the province of the country. Michelle, are you able to answer that question? You have to unmute, Michelle. Press your unmute button.
Oui, merci, merci, Janice.
Yes, thank you, Janice. Yes, indeed, in January, there was a bit of a backlog in the eastern part of the country. The situation varies from one area of the country to another. And indeed, it's the reverse today. It's really the large slaughterhouses out west that are taking up less. And the volume out west is very high. It's not as large out east because we haven't had any plant closures in our region in Ontario or Quebec since COVID-19 hit.
You mentioned, I believe, sorry, you mentioned loss per head. Was it around $600? I think that was what you quoted.
That's an average.
On average. So what before, I guess, profit-wise, or do you have an amount before COVID-19 hit?
I don't have an exact amount, but I can tell you that some of my members have told me that they've actually hit losses closer to 800. This is a loss that they've never seen before, even in times of BSE. So these are pretty phenomenal losses. I think a normal loss, and again, Michelle, maybe you can back me up on this, but I think to see losses in the range of 300, is significant, but it's manageable. But when you start getting into losses that are 5, 6, and more, it's drastic.
Okay, thank you. I'll share my time with Mr. Drouin now.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président, et merci à mon collègue, Monsieur Ellis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to my colleague, Mr. Ellis. It's nice to see familiar faces before the committee. Mr. Groslo, you mentioned the reference margin, 85%. I'm not a Quebec MP, but I live very close to Quebec. I know that Quebec provided a top-up for agri-stability. My question is this. Are farmers using the program more because the Canadian Federation of Agriculture is asking us to take measures nationally, nationwide, but even with a reference margin of 85%, is the program going to be used more? In Quebec, we have a joint insurance program for various sectors, so we're required to register with Agri-Stability. So the registration rate in Quebec is beyond 70%. And this is why the national increase has moved to 30%. Without Quebec, it would be below 30%, the national level. But what really contributes to correcting the situation in Quebec is that we have an Agri-Quebec Plus program, and this program comes into play with the reference margin at 85%. But we set a ceiling for the intervention by the business when it's profitable to not overcompensate in the case of businesses that aren't in trouble. So there's a way of adjusting the program nationally as well. Thank you, Mr. Groslo. Mr. Perron, 4 minutes. Go ahead, please. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you to the witnesses for being here. Mr. Groslo, I was very happy to hear someone else than myself say that agri-stability isn't working. I also see, based on Mr. Drouin's questions, that this is yet again another area where Quebec is fixing what the federal government scrapped earlier, because in the end, there was a program that worked well in 2013 and it's no longer functioning. Did I understand you correctly, Mr. Groslo? Yes, exactly. Mr. Groslo, I talked to you, and this is what I wanted to get to. The programs we have in place, when we hear your responses, you're referring to a new calculator, a magical calculator that just appeared online. Do you really think that that helps producers? I have my doubts, because with my demonstration, in order for agri-stability to intervene substantially, well, the business has to be virtually in a technical bankruptcy situation. We gave you an extreme example where a business that was earning $150,000 a year loses $80,000, and despite that fact, the program doesn't kick in. So I don't think we could be clearer than that with our demonstration. So we have a government, we're paying taxes, and we're not getting any support. Furthermore, coming back to the comparison with the U.S., we're talking about the U.S. because they're our closest neighbor. Well, we could talk about European countries as well. What are you predicting short-term and medium-term? Because agriculture in Canada hasn't been supported for some time. What's going to happen in the coming years? I would like you to correct me if I'm mistaken, but my fear is that we will be dependent on foreign countries with food shortages and inflation in our food costs imported into Canada. Could you confirm that or correct me if I'm mistaken? Well, at present, if agriculture in Canada manages to succeed, it is largely because our exchange rate favors us. That's essentially the reason. If we had a dollar at par or 90 cents to the U.S. dollar, the situation of farming in Canada would be disastrous at present. So can we build an industry on a parameter such as that? The answer is no. So we must absolutely have risk management programs that are competitive in Canada, competitive with the European risk management programs or the U.S. programs for risk management. Thank you very much. So I understand the alarm bell. It's urgent to intervene. So I would support what you have outlined for us. A request was made by La Relève Agricole for covering SMEs, for help with loans, etc., when they're not eligible. Could you explain this to the committee so that everyone understands clearly? Well, quickly, the loan of $40,000 that was made available for small businesses. Well, a business that is held by a collective, a corporation, is not admissible because what the owners withdraw is not considered as a salary. And we know that you have to have paid out $20,000 worth of salaries the previous year to be eligible. So an awful lot of small Quebec businesses are being excluded from this assistance because that criterion was not changed despite our request. So farming businesses in Quebec and throughout the country are threatened and they risk disappearing short term. The assistance that's been announced, important for the sector, well, these businesses are not eligible. Thank you, Mr. Grelot.
Gregor, for 4 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'll start with Ms. Tranberg of the National Cattle Feeders Association. Can you just remind me what you said in your remarks about our processing capacity? Did you say we're at about 50% now, but you don't really expect that to get much higher than 85% in the coming months? You're just on mute there.
That would be correct. I mean, for all the things that needed to be done to make the plant workable, so they had to put partitions between the people, they had to increase space on social distancing. All of these measures will slow down production. So, I mean, you know, we don't know precisely, but at least in the short term, you know, full capacity really probably is not going to be able to be much past 85% of pre-COVID.
Yeah, and that's very troubling. I was looking at some research coming out from the Western Stock Growers Association, and they estimated that we may see a rolling backlog of over 375,000 head of cattle. And, you know, of course, they think the glut may happen right at the peak of the fall calf run. So I just want to know, like, you know, if we're going to have this rolling backlog and we're still not going to have processing capacity up to 100%, even in a few months' time, I mean, is there an ability to build additional feedlot storage area? How are we going to deal with this glut, I guess, is my big question. Like, how long can the National Cattle Feeders Association keep going with this huge backlog of cattle in your facilities?
Well, we're reaching peak right now. I mean, when you're talking about can they build more capacity, I mean, they can't even manage the capacity that they have. So, you have to have finances to be able to support your cattle right now, let alone look at building even more. Just to expand on the question previous, and sorry, but at $50 million, that barely covered our best case scenario, which was that the plants would produce at 85%. Well, we're now, for a while we were below 50. Now we're just barely back to 50. It's going to take us quite a bit of time to get back to normal, and we're not going to be able to cover the costs, certainly in the short term.
And I don't have a lot of time left, but looking forward, I don't think it's too early to start thinking about how do we build resiliency into our system so that we're better able to withstand shocks like this in the future. Do you have any thoughts to add on that, and like how we build resiliency into the system in 2-3 years so that when something like this comes again, we're not going to be in such a sorry state?
Well, you're asking me to look in my crystal ball. Michelle, maybe you cut in if you want, but I would just say that some of the changes that are being, looked at under business risk management are things that would help provide better liquidity and resilience. But maybe, Michelle, I'll give you a chance to respond. Oh, sorry, you're still on mute, Michelle. Yeah, you're on mute.
C'est dans l'histoire moderne des...
Concentration in slaughtering and processing is such that there are two large players who cover virtually 80% of all cattle slaughter in the country. So that's why we see what we're seeing. Thank you, Mr. Daigle. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have.
Thank the three panels, the Canadian Pork Council, Mr. Rick Bergman, René Roy, and also Union des producteurs agricoles, Marcel Groslo et Isabelle Bouffard, and National Cattle Feeder Association, Janice Strandberg and Michel Daigle. Apologize for the issue with the sound as we learn how to navigate these new technologies. So I will, so thank you all. You can now leave, but I will ask all the members to stay. We need to just settle one or two business issues. So thanks to the panel, and we'll go right into our business issue. We just learned that the next Tuesday meeting will be canceled, and what I need to know from the committee is, do you want to put that meeting further? The same panel. In other words, our next meeting will be Friday, the following Friday on the 22nd. Do you want to just take the Tuesday meeting and move it later on, or do you just want to continue? Don't forget, Friday we have the Minister of Immigration, Mr. Medencino, and Tuesday we had the horse sector and foreign workers. So I need to get some direction to how we want to proceed for Tuesday the 19th. Monsieur Perron, allez-y.
Est-ce qu'on peut...
Go ahead, Mr. Perron. I wasn't aware of the fact that next Tuesday's meeting had been canceled. Could we sit Wednesday or at some other time? No, we just learned this. There won't be any committee meetings whatsoever on Tuesday, or perhaps there are other committees already sitting, but our meeting was canceled completely. Perhaps we could postpone it to later, but at this stage, we just have to determine if we want to postpone it, or do we want to continue with our schedule and move it to Friday? But as I was saying, Friday we're hearing the minister. I don't know if the minister could postpone his appearance. I'm open to suggestions.
Just ask a couple of questions on this, if I could. First of all, why is it canceled? I don't know. None of us have heard a reason why. But the other question I would have is, I mentioned, why can't we go over today? And we're obviously going over the 7 o'clock meeting time to discuss this. And we had, 4 minutes of questions for that second round. And I know we can't it's not our fault on the technical issues, but I think that has to be addressed. But why could we not have gone over the 7 o'clock? Is there a reason that there is a deadline? And you said, well, they don't want us to go over 7 o'clock. Who's they?
So as you can imagine, there's a whole team making this happen, and we were told not to exceed as much as possible. Obviously, we're a little bit over time now, and we're thankful that they stay around. Sometimes it's not even that; it's the fact that there's another committee after us. It's not the situation this evening. So sometimes we manage to get a few minutes, but I try to keep the to be fair to everyone and to keep us on time. So we can modify if you wish. We can look at the time for witness. We can look at different ways of doing this. But unfortunately, with the new technology, there's always some issues that come up, which cuts some of our question time. So,
Mr. Chair, if I can make a proposition.
Sorry, Francis. Go ahead. Yeah, sorry. I would suggest then that I know we talked about it last week, but let's try and get to 2 witnesses per hour then. And 7 minutes instead of 10. I thought we did talk about that last week to cut them down to 7 minutes. Obviously, all of us are in different situations. I think it's really important that we have as much time for questions and answers as possible. So maybe, Francis, that's what you were going to suggest. That I didn't mean to cut you off, but maybe your input. Go ahead, Francis.
Yeah, and I'm looking at and if we do want an extra meeting, honestly, it's I don't want to say beyond our pay grade, but that has to be discussed with the whips, and the whips will make that decision. And I noticed that the Agri Committee is held at the same time as Finance next week. So again, based on the technical folks who are available, those supporting us, it always depends. If they're not available, then that's why our committees will get canceled. And Finance, Proc, and I think there's another one, and Health gets priority all over us. So that's why we're going to get these things happening based on the motion that was passed in the House.
And John, just to clarify also, all the whips of different parties got together and decided that at least our committee was not going to meet on Tuesday. So just for clarification, it's not, we didn't make that decision. We just learned about it just prior to the meeting. So
no, I wasn't insinuating, Mr. Chair, that you canceled the meeting on us. I was just wondering what. And thanks, Francis, for that explanation. It's just when we're trying to book these witnesses so far in advance. I know there's limited technology there, but I just wanted to know why ours was canceled.
Yeah, and we have no problem with John for 7 minutes. If there's 2 witnesses, it allows everybody to ask, at least get a round in or 2 rounds in. So, yeah, we're fine with that.
So did I hear 2 witnesses for 7 minutes instead of 10? Is that what you suggested, Mr. Drouin?
Oui.
Yes? I would like to add something to the proposal. Go ahead. You mentioned fairness, the principle of fairness with interpretation is difficult. We're all reasonable people. We understand that there are technical glitches. I would also suggest that if we start a turn, we finish it in order to be fair and respect representation in the House. Because even when we sat in Ottawa in person, the questions from the Bloc, from the NDP, there's not enough time for them in the second turn. So even if we have to change the turns, their duration, in the first turn, I'm just putting these numbers out there, but let's say everyone gets 5 minutes in the first round, and the second round, then it's 4 minutes, and we reduce the time slots proportionally so that each round is complete. I think it would be fair for all, because even earlier with the minister, we didn't have the NDP and the Bloc in the round. But for the first round, that was predetermined. We said it when we started sitting. That's what's going to happen. If we can reduce the time devoted to the statements of the witnesses, we might have time for 2 rounds. But with 3 witnesses, 10 minutes each, it's already half an hour that's gone. And we know that there are usually a few technical glitches as well. But Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, I'm convinced we'll never have time for a complete second round. And we'll find ourselves set aside. But it works very well with other committees. But once again, it depends on the technical issues. And we can't resolve that either. That's no one's fault. But if we might bring the speaker's time from 7 to 5 minutes, then we could move from 6 to 5 minutes for the round, the first round, and then we'd move to the second turn, and we might just reduce the time slots for everyone, because otherwise the Bloc and the NDP are getting sacrificed. I don't want to hinder other parties. That's not my intent. We just would like complete turns, but in fairness to all. I would invite you to consider my proposal in any event. Well, as I said, the committee has already voted on this. For the first round, everyone gets 6 minutes, a 6-minute turn. It's the same thing every time. So that's fair, in my view. But there, we're talking about the second round, so it depends. If we can't change the first round, we could change the second round. The second round, it's Liberals, Conservatives 5 minutes, and NDP and Bloc, they get 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. Yes, exactly. But if we took a little bit of the time away from some people, well, perhaps we should shorten the statements, the time set aside for statements, because, well, let's give it a try. I would invite committee members to keep that proposal in mind. It's reasonable to my mind. If you say it's a decision of the committee, well, the committee is master of its fate. It could decide otherwise. So now the decision we have to make tonight, I don't want to belabor these issues, but do we postpone Tuesday's meeting, even if we have to come back at some other date with the witnesses we have slotted there, and we keep Friday's meeting as is, or do we postpone all of the meetings because we can't meet on Tuesday, so Tuesday's meeting would be held on Friday, etc. As I was saying, we already have something for Friday.
Don't try and reschedule the minister. If we have the minister booked for next Friday, I would suggest we keep that meeting as is and try and reschedule those Tuesday witnesses to another day. I don't know if there's another day next week that Tuesday meeting can be moved to, that we can slot that into our schedule with the technology. But my suggestion would be to leave next Friday as is with the minister. His schedule, I'm sure, is very chaotic. If we've got him booked, I would suggest we leave it at that and take those Tuesday witnesses and see if we can find another day to add that meeting.
Okay. Any other comments from the party? Can I get Mr. McGregor, perhaps? You want to weigh in on this?
I'm good.
Okay. Monsieur Perron, est-ce que vous êtes d'accord qu'on...
Mr. Perron, do you agree that we postpone the meeting and we move on with the same schedule? Yes. So we cancel Tuesday's meeting, we postpone it, we hold it at another time, and we move on with Friday's meeting? Well, Tuesday's meeting, we could have it the following week. All right, so I'll give those instructions to staff. Might we envisage having 3 meetings in one and the same week? I don't think so, because committee time is already very limited. But we will make a request as soon as we can hold that meeting with the witnesses slotted for Tuesday. We'll put it in the schedule. Very well, thank you. So send me your suggestions as to the ways in which we could work. We could perhaps reach some other consensus with regard to sharing the time. But that's all the time we have for now. I wish to thank the technical team for having granted us these extra 15 minutes. So have a nice evening, everyone, and we'll see each other back here on Friday. Thank you.